Today I'm going to be embroidering on this super cute baby gown, and I'm also going to share with you my little hack for keeping the tender touch onto the garment without it coming off. As you can tell from the tag, I purchased this gown from AJ Blanks. This gown features a zipper down the side, which was super convenient, especially for hooping it. In all my years and all my children, I've never actually received one that had the zipper, so I can imagine that makes diaper changing a lot smoother. So I'm super excited to actually put this on my baby and see how the zipper makes a difference. But from an embroidery perspective, it definitely makes hooping easier. On the contrary, lining it up and finding the center point was a little bit more complicated because of the zipper on the side. But that's a minor setback for a major win. At this point, all I'm doing is trying to find my center point so I can map out exactly where I'm going to embroider my image. Now I'm using the air and water soluble ink marker, the disappearing ink rather, if you want to call it that, the magic pen. It is so awesome. I use them all the time. I've never had any problems with any of my material or any staining. Our local Joann's was closing down and I bought a whole bunch of them at one time. And that is definitely something I do not regret doing. I also do like to use the little chalk pens, but for this one, because it is a light pink, I decided to go with a darker purple marker so I could really see my marks. Plus, we're going to throw this gown into the washer and dryer so I can show you guys how the tender touch stays on even through a wash. Now I'm going to use my handy dandy ruler and I'm going to mark exactly where I want my image to land. So this particular design is around 4 inches and a quarter. So I'm just leaving little marks there so I know exactly where I can pin. And when I flip this back around, I'm going to put my stabilizer right on those spots. That way I'm not wasting too much, I'm not cutting too much off, and then I can map it out exactly where I want everything to be. If you are feeling confident in your estimating skills, by all means go ahead and skip this step. You don't have to pin it up. You don't have to kind of really just lay it down where you expect it to go. You can just go crazy and slap your stabilizer onto the back of your garment and get embroidering. For me, I wanted this to be really cute because I wanted to put this on her and take pictures at the hospital. So I want to make sure that it does look really nice and very clean looking and very lined up. So I am taking my time and showing you the proper way to do this. So as you can see, we flipped it back inside out and I have my pins there so it shows me exactly where my top and bottom of my design will be. So I already cut some of my stabilizer here. I am using 1 sheet of cutaway. This is very soft. It's black. I wish I would have went with the white one, but this one's soft and I want to go softer. So I'm using 1 sheet of cutaway, and I'm also using 2 layers of the Stitch and Stay, which was purchased from Joann's. It's very thin. I don't recommend ever using it on its own, but I am throwing it on there for that little bit of extra support. And again, it is very, very soft, so I think it's going to be okay for baby. In between each layer, I use the 504 temporary spray. And I say temporary, but we are washing it out anyway because I definitely want to throw this to the washer and dryer so you guys can see how that tender touch stays in place once I do my little hack. Now, why did I just write hi? Of course, if I want to say hi to you guys, I'll just say hey. But no, so I write something on here with the pen that will wash out or disappear because sometimes you have to flip your design on your machine if you're using a multi-needle. So in order to make sure that I am lining it up and making sure that I am not putting my design sideways or upside down, I like to write something on there so that way I can match it up. One little frustration with this project is I did not have the proper size hoop. This is actually the smallest baby gown I've ever received. The other ones I have are more of a size like 0 to 3, closer to 3 months. So they are a little bit bigger. This one is definitely for a newborn, which is going to make it so perfect for the pictures in the hospital like I want, like I envision with this. So I do have a little bit of a stretch there while I'm using the magnetic hoop. Now my Durkee hoops were too small and this one was just so slightly too big. So there is a little bit of stretch but it's okay. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, well, it's for my own kids, so I'm not going to stress about it. Spoiler alert, I do like the way it turned out, but that little bit of stretch did leave its mark. But it's okay, guys. We're not going to obsess over little things, right? Right now, I am just trying to line up my design, making sure that I was able to hoop it as straight as possible, considering I don't have the actual hooping station. So we just kind of have to wing it and hope that it does line up as best as we can. And if there's anything major, we can always adjust it on our machine. Goes without saying, always trace your design. I'm just throwing it out there as a reminder. There are so many times where I'm in a rush and I'm just tempted to hit that go button, but because we're using these like third-party aftermarket hoops, it's so important that you trace out your design. Anything could happen. Your machine can get bumped and you don't even realize it, and now you're out of sync, and then you're hitting that side there and you're wondering why your needle will go up and down and you're freaking out and you can't finish your job or project. So always trace your design. All right, guys, so now I'm using this water stabilizer. I'm actually going to use 2 layers because of the way it cut, and I had extra, and I really want these stitches to pop because I want the design and the name to show up in the photos. So I'm really making sure that I am making sure these stitches stay in place. I am making sure that these stitches pop out. I'm making sure the colors are something that you can read from afar, that when I'm sending the photos out to people, they can see it. First things first, I have the no sew iron-on backing here, and then I also am using the Tender Touch. And again, check the description for some links if you're not sure where to get this. And the Tender Touch is also iron-on. Now, I've had the worst time trying to get the Tender Touch to stay on my garments. I always have it fall off when I wash my materials. Even when I buy stuff from big box stores, and it already has the embroidery on there with the Tender Touch lining on the back, I notice that after so many washes, it ends up falling off. So using this heat and bond, I notice that I can get it to kind of stay in place instead of just having it fall off right away after one wash if I did not do this little trick. First, you're going to cut down the heat and bond around the same size as your design. Then the Tender Touch is going to be cut down, but that needs to be bigger than your design. So whatever size you cut the first thing down, now your Tender Touch is going to be bigger because it needs to go outside of the heat and bond. I am just working while my machine is working, so this can be done once it is done embroidering. I am ready to rock and roll. I can iron all of this on, throw my garment into the washer and dryer, and then call it a day. This is the finished product, guys. This is what it looks like. Now we need to take that water soluble topping off. So there is a hack where you can take a spray bottle and just spritz it a little bit and then it pops right off. I personally do not have water down in my basement right now, so I am just going to peel it off the best that I can. Now we're going to flip the garment back inside out. It's just constantly flipping it right side, back ways, everywhere. And I'm going to cut off all of this extra stabilizer that I overcompensated for. We want to trim it down as best as we can because stabilizer is pretty heavy, especially that cutaway one. So we want to make sure we're getting as much of it off as we can without risking or jeopardizing the stitch on the opposite side. I'm also going to take this time and this opportunity to cut any of the jump stitches or the little flyaways there, so the little extra strings. I'm going to take this chance to go ahead and snip them off because they don't need to be on there. I am using my mini press for this. I absolutely love it. It is the perfect size for this little design, for this little baby gown. I put it on the second heat setting. I'm not sure what the temperature equals there, but I do hit the button twice and then I use that so it's not too hot, too cold, it's just right. And I'm going to follow the counting instructions that are found on the packages of the Tender Touch and the Heat and Bond. One says 8 seconds and the other one says 2 seconds. So for the Heat and Bond, I do believe it was 2 seconds, and then you peel off that white protective coating. And then for the Tender Touch, you're going to hold it in place for 8 seconds. Now, because my mini press is small, I have to kind of move it around. So it's going to be 8 seconds, slide it, 8 seconds, slide it, 8 seconds, slide it, etc. As I reveal here, you can see that shininess or that white backing, that glossiness, and that is where the Heat and Bond stuck to our stitches. And now I'm going to take the Tender Touch, follow the instructions that are on the package. Make sure that the textured side is down. The smoother side should be out towards baby skin. I always cover it with the parchment paper because, or butcher paper, whichever one you want to use, because I don't want the Heat and Bond vinyl sticky stuff to get onto my heat press and ruin it. So just in case any of it is still seeping through because it's so hot, I always like to protect my iron. Look how well that adhered all on the corners and the sides. It just looks so good and so professional, and you wouldn't think that it's going to come off. But I'm going to throw it into the washer and dryer, and we're going to see how well this holds up. I am just turning it right side out, if you will, one more time. Kind of show you what the front looks like. You can see it's like super stiff, but that's okay because we don't want those stitches to move around. Now I am going to cut these jump stitches off, and then I am all done and ready to wash my beautiful little Paris gown. So guys, this is after the wash and dry. You can see the edges did come up, but where we put that Heat and Bond stayed. So we don't have to worry about it actually coming off because it is stuck where we put the Heat and Bond. So the only part that came off is the part on the outer edge where there was nothing to keep it there other than the actual tender touch, which doesn't always work. So guys, that's my little hack. That's how I do it. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.